Welcome back, everybody, to this week's bonus episode of the DCL Duo podcast. We are going to be talking some Disney Cruise Line news, a little bit of commentary, and some listener questions this evening. I want to start by welcoming in, as always, my co-host, the other half of this duo, Sam. Welcome, Sam.
Hello, I'm fist bumping still to that countdown music.
Zemo fist bumps?
The Zemo fist bumps. I love the countdown music and it always makes me want to fist bump to it. So,
all right, well, Zemo fist bumps. Well, we're late on the East Coast, so I want to keep things rolling here. We wanted to start off the show, though, by thanking all of our Patreon subscribers out there. So big thank you to the Patreons. Just wanted to shout out their names. So thank you, Steve Creasy, Jim and Deb Mason, Jonathan Heil, Jeffrey Fedderson, Jennifer Swart, Chris Braga, and Steve Elsis out there for supporting the show. We really appreciate each and every one of our Patreons out there. Thank you for supporting us. And we really
love you. We raise the roof to you and we bow down to you all at once.
Well, there you go. There you go. Also, have to do one other big thank you, as evidenced by our background here. We got to thank our show sponsor, Touring Plans. We use Touring Plans to book some of our own Disney Cruise Line vacations, and love our travel advisor over there. So if you'd like to support the show, you can always join as a Patreon, or you can head over to touringplans.com/travel and book your travel through Touring Plans and let them know the DCL Duo sent you. So it's a great experience we have. And remember, they cost you nothing extra. Using a travel agent for Disney in 99% of cases costs you nothing extra. Disney pays their fee. So thank you, Touring Plans, for sponsoring the show. Now we're going to switch backgrounds. We're going to get into the news, and we're going to welcome in our favorite guest co-host, Adrienne. Hi. Welcome, Adrienne.
Hey, guys.
Hey, we're so happy to see you. Sorry it's late on the East Coast. It's still bright and early on the West.
It's all good. All good.
Well, we have a lot to cover because we usually do this monthly, and we had to miss last month, and so much has happened that we've whittled this down to a few topics. But I wanted to start with something that came up for me today that we reminded folks about on our Facebook page, but that it came as a surprise even to Adrienne this evening as we were talking before the show, which is future cruise credits. So if you, like us, stacked up some future cruise credits due to the pandemic, I got an email this morning from Disney Cruise Line just, letting me know that they were going to apply about $3,000 worth of our future cruise credits as an onboard credit to our upcoming 3-night Dream cruise that we just booked in August with the return to sailing, which we'll talk about a little bit later. They're going to apply those cruise credits as onboard credit to that cruise, even though we'd already paid in full for the cruise using future cruise credits. And so posted that on Twitter. Came to be that lots of folks were like, oh, I totally forgot about that. So the tip for everyone out there is that if you have a cruise booked on Disney Cruise Line and you have future cruise credits and you have some left over after you've paid for that upcoming cruise, Disney's going to apply them automatically to that sailing as an onboard credit to your account if you don't use them to pay another cruise or book another cruise 7 days prior to the sailing, that first sailing. And so have a plan for these future cruise credits. We're hearing some conflicting information about what will happen to the onboard credit if you don't use it. Right. I was shocked they were going to put $3,000 on a 3-night cruise because I have no way.
There's no way we could spend. Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing. I mean, if you want to, if you wanted to apply like $500 worth of credits for a 3-night cruise, that's maybe understandable because you drinks, and if you're doing Apollo or a Remy or something like that, or a spa treatment. But I don't know how one would spend $3,000 other than if you spend it all at Tiffany in 3 days. So pay attention to that. You can probably adjust it so that you can apply some of it to your onboard account, but not all of it, or do as we do, or do as Brian did, which is just tell them to put it back in the pot to our future cruise credit because we have other cruises that have not yet paid in full.
It's not just put it back in the pot. I actually have to go ahead and get it applied to a future cruise at least 7 days prior to our sailing. If it's still there at 7 days, it's going on our onboard account. So I reached out to our travel agent to have her tell me, just pick a cruise that's going to consume that credit and put it on there. So make sure you have a plan for those future cruise credits. So, all right, let's get into the fun news. We're going to start, as always, with our favorite topic, which is food and dining. It's been a while since these announcements came out, but this show isn't about breaking news. This show is about our own thoughts and reactions and commentary on the news. And so let's start with the Avengers dining experience on board the Wish. We got more details. And so it's the Quantum Encounter. Is that right, Sam? Am I getting that right?
Yeah, Quantum Encounter, and then there's going to be a quantum core on your table.
That's right. Every table will have a quantum core. It sounds like it's going to be an interactive experience.
Yes.
World-themed food from Avengers locales, including Wakanda, New York, and Sokovia. Adrian, how are you feeling about the Avengers experience on board the Disney World?
I'm very excited. I'm it's exciting. I think it's every time they're releasing a little bit more and a little bit more sprinkles of what we're going to get on that cruise, it just makes it that much more exciting to go and want to be on it. There isn't one thing that they released that I've been like, I don't know. Everything just keeps building.
Except Aladdin.
Okay.
Except Aladdin.
Okay. I might give you that one. But it's been very interesting. I'm very excited, and Brian and I were saying they better have shawarma.
Well, I'm trying to figure out what the Sokovia related food is going to be. I mean,
I don't know.
A borscht?
Something Slavic. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they play on this with the quantum core. The idea is supposed to be that things can get bigger and smaller, right? Yeah. So we'll see what that means. I don't know if that's going to be, you're going to see some food in front of your eyes get bigger or get smaller. That would be kind of amazing. But if it's not, it might be more like what they have got going on at Pym's Test Kitchen in Avengers Campus at Disneyland, which is just playing with sizes of food, like a gigantic candy bar, which Brian and I had, which was utterly delicious, or a giant piece of fried chicken on a tiny little slider bun, playing on sizes. So we'll see what that's going to be. But I agree. I'm with Adrian. I'm looking forward to it and can't wait to see how they do whatever they do.
I'm excited that it's Ant-Man and the Wasp because I feel like that introduces a good amount of comedy into the mix.
I agree.
So I think that'll be good. And I think the way they described it was essentially the quantum core malfunctions and Ant-Man style hijinks ensues. And so I think that's going to be a lot of fun. I mean, this does sound more and more like an animator's palette kind of experience where you get the crowd involved. And so I think that's going to be good. Other food announcements, Mickey and Friends, as well as the Marceline Market. So Marceline Market is going to be the new cabanas, essentially. It sounds like the description of Marceline Market will get Disney potentially away from the two-sided mirrored buffet and have more like themed stalls. I don't know. That's certainly a possibility based on how they're describing it. But Adrian, what do you think about Marceline Market?
Listen, I like the idea. I think it's great. Anything that brings a little bit of a Disney history kind of thing sprinkle in there is fun. I think it will be great. I think that buffets are going to be handled completely different. And that is what I think you alluded to, Brian, right? I mean,
yeah, and I don't think right now when you walk into cabanas, it's like, here's the row of chicken fingers, fries.
Food.
Right. Yeah. This sounds like more like there's going to be an experience of hey, we've got one thing over here, then they're doing shawarma, and one thing over here is doing salads.
It's going to be a little bit different. I think it's going to be a little bit more spread out to keep people from being on top of each other. I mean, you have to go with what is right now too.
Well, I think they described it as like a food hall almost.
Yeah,
which in food halls. Yeah. Well, and food halls have gotten really popular.
It's different areas.
Yeah.
I wonder how it will be laid out though, because you still have a central kitchen, right? And the way cabanas is sort of I'll call it a horseshoe shape for cabanas, because that way they can get the food and there's some kitchen space in between, or they bring the food up or down or whatever from other levels where there's even more kitchen space. So I don't know how the layout is, but I do like the idea of this food stalls and that each one is going to have a different theme, as opposed to cabanas, which is just the two sides of the horseshoe. Yeah, the two sides of the horseshoe are like lines and they're almost identical to one another. They might have things slightly placed differently, but yeah, it's just kind of a mirror image.
I think that with the stalls, I think it will be spread throughout the dining room in pieces where it's more like a little shop, like and I think it will just sprawl people further apart to keep people more interested in different ways.
I hope so. That's what I'm hoping it is. I'm not sure it's going to be like that.
It's the vibe that I got. It's the vibe that I got, but until they drop it, we really don't know.
Yeah, but I love that idea. Yeah.
Well, in other big news, we are finally getting Mexican food at sea. They announced the slate of restaurants for the pool deck. And among others, we are getting among sort of a regular grill and that sort of stuff, it sounds like we are going to get a cantina style experience and barbecue. I think it's Donald's Cantina, which makes sense with the Tres Caballeros. I forget who the barbecue inspired character is, but barbecue and Mexican food. Sam, you excited to get some, I don't know, enchiladas at sea or?
So it's funny, Mexican food is actually, not, as Brian knows, not my favorite cuisine. It's probably one of Brian's favorite cuisines, but I do enjoy some nachos or quesadilla every once in a while. So I do like the idea of having Mexican food available on board and not just that little tiny bit of nacho station that you sometimes get in cabanas. So I think it's a great thing to have as a part of the pool deck food. I think it's going to be super popular. I hope they'll rotate through different kinds of I hope they'll do little street tacos and things like that, or taco salads. I feel like there's a lot of opportunity for different stuff. One of my favorite things I think it's on the Dream now, is on that pool deck, there's Mediterranean food that you can get, like gyros. And so I love that. And so I wonder if it's going to be sort of the answer to that, but with Mexican food.
Yeah, Adrian, how are you feeling about barbecue and Mexican food?
Are you kidding? That's the best thing ever. I told you, every time they announce something food-wise, it just gets better and better with each food announcement. I think that it's a change-up, and they should do a change-up. Who doesn't like a good taco on a cruise?
So I'm excited for it. I'm just going to say the following. All of the food stations that they currently have around the pool area, I'm going to label as non-messy food items. Like ability to handhold chicken fingers, hamburgers, even the gyros or shawarma that they have on the pool deck. Mexican food, outside of a few things, and barbecue especially, can get pretty messy. And so I'm interested to see what they try to do. I'm wondering if the barbecue will be more like sandwiches.
Yeah, I bet I'm sure it's not going to be like ribs.
I don't think
pulled pork sandwiches, brisket, maybe sandwiches.
I just wonder if the cantina is going to be like burritos, right?
They may have skewers, like barbecue skewers. I could see them doing skewers too. Yeah. I think that you're right, because when I think back, when I think of the pool deck food, what do I really think of? I think of exactly what you said: the hamburgers, the chicken, and I think of my favorite, those wraps.
Those are good. Yeah,
those wraps are really good.
I like the Caesar salad one.
That's my favorite one.
Yeah, the Caesar salad one, and I actually like the tuna one too.
Yeah,
they're all good, but I'm just thinking you're right. It could get messy, but I think they're going to do skewers and sandwiches.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's move on to some bigger news, which is the announcement that Disney will be home porting a ship in, I think 2023 or 2023 to 2024 will be home porting out of Port Everglades as opposed to Miami. So, and the documentation we saw was that this would be a move. This would not be adding a ship to Southern Florida. This would be moving a ship in Southern Florida from Port Miami to Port Everglades. Adrian, good move to go to Port Everglades. I will say I was pretty vocal about this, and meh. Just meh. Miami is iconic, and so I've sailed out of Port Everglades. I heard from a few people, it's easier to get there. Maybe
honestly, that's what I was going to say. That it's really more about ease than it is about anything else. I would rather leave from Miami than Port Everglades, but a ship is a ship, and I'll go where it is.
I feel the same, Adrian. I think the difference, I think it's going to be different depending on who you ask. I think people who sail as families with younger kids are actually going to like sailing out of Port Everglades. There's plenty of places to stay. It's not going to be like staying on South Beach in Miami.
Right.
It's
It will be cost efficient.
Exactly. It'll easy to get to, cost efficient as compared to Miami. So I think that you're going to see. I do think that the adults only folks are going to be a little disappointed because they might want to stay a couple nights and party in Miami on the front or the back end of the cruises. So I think that's going to be the difference. I will say I'm excited for it because I got family that have places that I could stay near Fort Lauderdale. I do not have any place to stay near Miami. So,
well, Fort Lauderdale is not that far away from Miami. You could stay in Fort Lauderdale and cruise out of Miami pretty easily.
Sure, but I have even closer when we're talking about the Palm Beach area. So,
there's also, when you fly into Fort Lauderdale, it's a less onerous airport than Miami too.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
yeah, for sure.
So I get the vibe. I mean, honestly, I would sooner just constantly sail out of, Port Canaveral, but that's not happening.
Yeah.
So there's only so many ships you can have there at a time. So
I still want to do a Marvel Day at Sea, and I don't know when they return to the themed cruises like Marvel Day at Sea and Star Wars Day at Sea. I wonder if they're going to continue like they've had with Miami being Marvel Day at Sea cruises almost exclusively, meaning they don't sail out of Canaveral. I wonder if Port Everglades is going to have those in order to attract people to those cruises. And so, so
Star Wars ones too.
Yeah, so I want to sail out of there to do the Marvel
Star Wars
Day.
They do Star Wars out of Port Canaveral though too. So
yeah, they do. Yeah. But I agree. I think the theming will be on the other ones more to get people to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Adrian, you actually noted before off air before we started that they had canceled or at least paused plans for the Brightline station at Disney Springs.
Right now, there's no construction happening at all at the Springs. It is 100% paused. So I don't know what's happening fully. I just know that it is completely on pause. Construction has stopped. Nothing is happening.
Yeah,
Wow.
It was interesting when I first saw this announcement about home porting out of Port Everglades. My immediate reaction was, what does that mean for the Brightline? Now someone pointed out, quite helpfully, there is going to be a Brightline station near Fort Lauderdale. So I don't know that it necessarily changes anything big, but if for whatever reason they stop building the Brightline station at Disney, that's certainly, the one time I might consider taking a cruise out of Port Everglades, I would want to go to Disney, maybe take the train down, get on the ship, that sort of thing. I don't want to have to fly between cities. I don't have to drive the 2.5 hours or 4 hours, whatever it is. If I'm going to sail and have to drive, I want to go to Port Canaveral. So I'm hoping this is not kind of like a de-investment in this, this train and that sort of thing.
I'm not sure what's happening, but they better start to figure it out because they decided to spew themselves, right, and do away with Magical Express sooner than later because of the Brightline.
The Brightline, yeah.
And now there is no Brightline. There's nothing happening. So I'm not quite sure what's happening there, but I'll keep my eyes on that one too. I was floored when I found out today that it was completely scratched and on hold.
That's crazy. Yeah. Hey, we have a couple of folks who are watching who said hi. So I just want to shout out and say hi to Derek and say hi to Chad. Derek is from the Rope Drop Radio podcast, and Chad is from the My DVC Points podcast. So hi, you guys. Thanks for watching us.
Yeah. And I've put up a banner. Feel free to submit questions. We will answer them on the air. We're going to get quickly to our listener question portion here soon, where we have some questions that have come in over Facebook and some other forums. Well, let's move to some positive news. Positive news, the Dream Disney announced last week that the Dream will start regular sailings on August 9th, 3 and 4 night sailings from Port Canaveral, converted a bunch of the existing cruises over to double dips. That's like winning a lottery, I think, if you had a cruise booked and it got converted to a double dip. Actually sparked us to go ahead and book a cruise on the Dream on the 20th. So I think we're on the 4th sailing of the Dream back to sailing. So excited about that. But along with those announcements came a whole bunch of protocols. Touring Plans actually has a great article just detailing the protocols. So if you head over to their blog, touringplans.com/blog, they have an article up that goes through all the different protocols that we found very helpful as we digested all the information coming out of Disney. But thought we'd highlight a few of them here in Gauge Reactions. Is anyone surprised that they are going to require either COVID testing before you show up and at the port, or vaccination? Anyone shocked by that?
Would.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Yep,
I wonder.
This is a good thing. This is a good thing.
Yes,
I do wonder. Someone asked me the other day, "What do you think they'll do if someone tests positive and they took Disney Cruise Line transportation to the terminal?" And I don't have an answer to that question. I don't know if they would disqualify the whole bus.
Silenced me because I really never thought about that.
This is the reason, Adrian, why we have booked a rental car instead of booking Disney transportation to the port, because we don't know what Disney's going to do under those circumstances. And Brian and I are fully vaccinated, but our son Nathan is not. And so we don't want to jeopardize our ability to get on, or his ability, which means our ability to get on the ship. Yeah. If we, unknowingly took transportation with somebody who ends up testing positive. So we're just being more cautious, even though, we know everybody will have been tested or be vaccinated. We just think it's a good idea to opt out of Disney transportation to the port at this time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sam, what caught your attention? What caught your attention most about the protocols?
Well, a couple of things. You have to now sign up on a separate website, not just through Disney, to either input your vaccination information or to input your test information once that's done, and to make sure you're all registered. So it's just an extra registration step for your cruise. And then when you're doing check-in, you are having to book time at the kids club for your kid. 2.5 hours, I think, is the maximum you can book online per day. I've heard rumblings that it might be that you can book more on the ship, but it's unknown at this point, just based on what's available on the website. You're checking in 30 days in advance. So pretty much everybody who's sailing in August is mostly checked in already. Right. And so it's, there's just some different stuff. You upload your picture, your passport ahead of time. So I think all of these things meant to sort of streamline your arrival at the port, so you don't spend a lot of time milling about at the port. They'll get you on the ship. Oh, and the port arrival times are all late. So when I say late, you used to be able to show up
a couple hours behind. Yeah. 11 o'clock used to be the earliest port arrival, I think. And
now it's 1 p.m., right? So the earliest, so concierge is like 1 p.m. And then everybody else, it doesn't matter if you're platinum. It doesn't seem to matter if you're platinum or gold or whatnot. Everybody else is by 15-minute increments, it seems, thereafter. So nothing bad from my perspective, just some differences. And for some people, that kids club limitation may be a big deal. Also, kids club, indoors, you're wearing masks. So the kids are wearing masks in the kids club. The nursery is closed. You don't need to book time for Vibe and Edge like you do for Oceaneers Club. So when I'm talking kids club booking, I'm talking for the 3 to 12-year-old crowd, not for the older kids. Yeah, those are the things I saw. Adrian, did you pick up anything in addition to those?
Not really. I mean, you really hit on it. I mean, it's all about testing and uploading and making sure that you have everything booked well before you go. Mm-hmm. You have to be on top of your game with this. You have to download. You have to put all your information to make it smooth transition, because otherwise when you get there, you're going to be in a lot of trouble, because they're going to want things from you.
Yeah, it feels a lot like our upcoming trip to Aulani, with the Hawaii protocols, or you have to actually jump through a bunch of different hoops in order to travel there. And it feels kind of similar with Disney Cruise Line. It's kind of a similar jumping through a couple of different websites, a couple of various hoops. And making sure everything is booked in advance, because there is going to be some limitations on stuff.
Yeah, my son literally just texted me that he just landed, and he was thankful that he did the testing at his airport, at the airport here, because there it's a 2.5 hour wait when you land to get tested now.
Wow.
Keep that in mind, guys.
Yeah. I think the two things that stood out for me in the protocols, one, I'm not surprised by anything that they're doing, and it all seems reasonable. I am taking the hint from Disney, though, how much they're putting on top of people who aren't vaccinated. I think they're actively trying to dissuade unvaccinated cruisers from putting foot on their ship. So you're not vaccinated, you got to go through 2 rounds of testing at your own expense. They're opting for PCR testing, which is more expensive. Both the port, the rapid tests are going to charge you for. It's going to go on your stateroom account. You got to carry travel insurance, which ups the ante in terms of cost for your vacation. So, they're really throwing a lot at the unvaccinated cruising population, and so that just stood out to me, like the amount that they're putting on there, which I don't disagree with. It was interesting to me. The other thing that really stood out to me is I am really curious to know what the capacity of these ships is for some of these early sailings, because we seem to be able to move dining really easily, even though we booked last minute, and checked in, last minute. Port arrival time, we could still get like the earliest port arrival time. We're in boarding group 5, which I expected to be in a much later boarding group. So I am going to be really curious to see how many people are actually on this ship. Yeah.
I'm actually really excited about that because I think it's going to be quite empty.
Yeah, I think it is too. But I wonder if that, at some level detracts from the vacation. Like the part of the ship that's fun is just like at the parks is the kinetic energy around the ship. And if you're losing some of that kinetic energy, it'll just be a different experience. So it'll be interesting to see what it's like.
I gotta vote with Sam here to get a chair on deck and be able to lounge out and not worry that there's millions of people around you, thousands of people around you constantly. The boats were always packed. I mean, you could never even get a lounge chair, and even cabana, all that was crazy. So I'm Stan T1. I'm sure I think these cruises that are just starting, I really believe that they're still in the testing phases. I think this is going to be a precursor to all the other cruises. I think you guys are like the guinea pigs of who wants to go. Let's see and see how it works and see what's working and what's not to keep it going.
Totally. Yeah. I'm really excited to be on deck and get a chair and, be able to see Nathan running over to that yellow water slide a million times.
Yeah.
I think it's really going to be nice because I don't think it is going to be that crowded. And I'm really excited, frankly, to see how things are in cabanas. I know things are going to be spread out. You're not going to be able to touch the tongs. I actually love that because then I don't take huge portions. Then I then feel bad and it'll feel like I have to eat. But 2, because I don't like everybody's germy hands touching the tongs at the cabanas it was pre-pandemic. It's gross. So I'm happy to have cast members serve me food, even if I have to walk around with my plate in cabanas. So
yeah.
I agree.
We'll let you know how it looks, Adrian, when we get back.
I can't. Yeah. I'm so glad you're going. I'm jealous. You know that I'm jealous. I was jealous that you went to California already. I haven't even stepped foot in Disney World, and I'm itching.
I know.
Yeah. Well, hey, let's move on to some listener questions that we got. I'm going to start with the questions we got from our Patreons. Our first question relates to have we ever done our own rapid fire round? And if not, that's what I want was the question. And so Jonathan, thank you for that question. We have actually done a few rapid fire rounds that are buried back in the deep cuts of this podcast. That said, we won't escape this question, but we're not going to do it tonight. What I'm going to do is the next time we all get together for Disney News, I'm going to let Adrian prepare a rapid fire round for the 2 of us, if she's willing, and she can ask us our our deep cut Disney favorites if she wants, and we will do a rapid fire round then. So,
all right.
Thank you, Jonathan, for that question.
I love it.
Next question is: what services, features, etc., that other cruise lines offer would you like to see on DCL? Not Wi-Fi, since that's already been established on the show as a niche. Yes. You took it from me. You took it from me.
Talked about that a lot.
I'll start and say the one thing that I really want to see on board is some sort of sea medallion or magic band kind of integration on the cruise line. I think the Key to the World card is fine, but other cruise lines have done a lot more with onboard tech using those sea medallions, RFID kind of stuff where they you order a drink and they know where you're sitting and someone just delivers the drink to you, right? I think there's opportunity for some magical experiences on board these ships using that technology. And so I would love to see them integrate that. Adrian, what's something that Disney Cruise Line doesn't have right now that you'd love to see them implement?
more of a drinking package,
Mm.
more of an alcohol package. I'm sorry, I just do. I think that should be something offered, and it doesn't have to be like a drinking fest. You could limit it and say, okay, for whatever X amount of dollars, you get 5 drinks a day instead of constantly laying out per drink.
Yeah,
I do. I think there should be some sort of alcohol package for the adults. I do.
Yeah. Well, I would recommend to people to check out that Passport at the Skyline Lounge on the Fantasy and the Dream, because that is the best thing that comes close to a drinking package. It's not quite what Adrian's talking about, but it is something really nice. And before I answer that question, I'm going to say hi to Samantha Triggs, who is watching us on Facebook right now.
Huge fan, she says. Thank you for that.
Thank you for being a huge fan. Okay, so I'm going to give 2 things. One is an escape room or puzzle room.
Oh, yeah. I love it.
Oh, yeah. I like that.
Yeah, I know. I think it's Royal Caribbean on their really large ships like Oasis and Symphony. I don't know if other cruise lines have this, but I know that they have escape rooms or puzzle rooms, and they've worked with on land puzzle room or escape room creators to bring those onto the ships. Brian and I are both big fans of escape rooms, puzzle rooms in the Seattle area, and I would just love to see like a Disney themed one.
They could do something so.
It should be like a Disney trivia.
Goofy lost the keys. Goofy lost the keys. That could be the start of it. Like Goofy lost the keys. We got to find it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they could make 2 levels of it. They could make one fun for kids and then one for
oh my God, the endless amount.
Right?
They
got to pay me for that. I know.
We should work on this.
I love it. It's a great idea. And then my second one that I would like to see, and this is, well, I guess I have 2 more. One is I kind of want to see.
Okay, wait. You got to limit yourself here.
I know. Listen, this one's like a tie. I kind of want a sushi restaurant on board as like, but this would be like an add-on. This would not be like a rotational dining. But I also kind of like that some of the competitors have add-on dining that is also family friendly. So on Disney Cruise Line, we only have the additional dining options are Remy and Paulo, and they're wonderful, but they're only adults only. It would be nice to see something that's a little bit different from the main dining, but still a casual add-on experience for a family. So those are those are mine.
All right.
Sorry, I gave like 3.
No. All right. Here we go. We got another question here. This was a little tongue-in-cheek, but we're going to answer it anyway. So Craig out there asked, how did you first discover Disney Cruise Line? And the answer is Craig. So he's asking facetiously, but I think we've talked about this on the show a couple of times. We discovered Disney Cruise Line because in 2018, I wanted to take a cruise for my 40th birthday. Just aged myself, I guess, but I wanted to take a cruise for my 40th birthday. We reached out to a friend of Sam's who was working in the cruise industry at the time, and we asked him, if I want to take a cruise for my birthday, which cruise line should I take? And he said, hands down, Disney. And so we booked it and never looked back. And I mean, we're going to try some other cruise lines here, but in the near future, but we love Disney Cruise Line, and that's how we discovered it, was a friend of Sam's. So there you go. And a friend of Adrian's too.
It's the same friend who got me to do that. I don't understand how that happened.
I know.
So Disney, your best marketing utility is Craig. All right, we got a few more listener questions here. All right, Drew on our Facebook page asked, what are cruise itineraries that don't exist that you would like to see added? All right, I will throw it to Adrian first. Adrian, what's a cruise itinerary that Disney doesn't currently offer that you'd like to see added?
Oh, that's hard. I don't know. I really never thought about it. I'm stumped. Yeah. I never really thought about where I would want to go. I mean, they kind of shift, like I would love personally to do the Mediterranean, but they do that. I just haven't done it. I don't know. They have the Eastern, they have the Western Caribbean. I don't know.
I'm going to say New Zealand or Australia is my top pick because they don't currently sail there. And I think those are amazing spots to sail. I don't know, Sam, do you have one?
Yeah, well, I would go with you on New Zealand and Australia, but the other one that I would say is cruising in Asia. There are a lot of other cruise lines, international cruise lines that
That's
sail,
interesting.
yeah, that sail in Asia. And I do think one of the things that makes me nervous about traveling in Asia is food. And so I think a lot of my food issues would be eased by having the cruise as my home away from home. So
That's a good way to look at it. I like that.
Yeah.
All right, a couple more questions here. This one also from Drew. What is the first thing you will do when you finally get back on a ship? I'm going to say, and we have an episode coming out where we'll probably repeat this. The first thing I'm probably going to do is break down in tears when they call our family's name as we enter the atrium.
Yeah.
Just quite honestly, that'll be an emotional moment.
Yeah. I think for me, so I obviously that's going to happen. But I'm gonna run to wherever the sign up for Apollo is because we did not get Apollo brunch, and I'm gonna see if it's available. I don't know.
Yeah, but then we got to get a kids club. Then we got to get a kids club reservation too, which will also be difficult. But yeah,
we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. He can just hang out on the pool deck by himself. We'll find a nice family to watch him.
Go play some mini golf for a little while.
For 2 hours while Daddy gets his fill of sticky buns. Yeah. Adrian, what's the first thing you're going to do when you get back on a ship?
Go on the aqueduct.
Ooh, yeah, that's a good one.
And sign up for the massage.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah.
That's a good one too.
All right. Do you have any traditions you do every sailing, regardless of itinerary or ship? We do. We do have one. I like to send a postcard from every port that we enter, and so they sometimes take a long time to get back to us because we had a few show up in the middle of the pandemic. Like 8 months after we had mailed them.
From summer of 2019. Yeah.
So yeah, we mail a postcard back home at every port. That's a big family tradition for us. Adrian, do you have family traditions that you guys do on the cruise?
Okay, so we always take a picture on the staircase. Always, that's a given. I always get the glass when you walk on, the drink of the day and the first glass, and toast to a smooth sail.
Oh, nice.
I always eat the sticky date pudding dessert. That's a tradition for me.
Always with the food. Always.
Yes, always.
That's
always.
okay. I think she's with the food. I'm sitting here saying, no, the booze, everyone, the booze.
Well, and I'm always going to every single one of the shows in the evening. It has to be a different one. I won't go to the same, on one sailing. If, for example, this sailing we're headed on, I don't know what show they'll be featuring, but it's only going to be one show. And so I'll see it, but I'll see it once. I'm not going to see it 4 times on one sailing. But I always go see at least once all of the shows.
I love the show.
All right. We got a question from Mike here. Mike is asking, when and how much extra do you tip, such as Palo, Remy, room service, and exceptional service? So I'll take that one for our family. Mike, I go back to something my grandfather told my father, who told me. And so my grandfather was a very, very frugal individual, but he always tipped people well. And his philosophy was, it means more to them than it ever will to me. Just the idea, he was out having dinner. He could afford to have dinner. He could afford to give the tip. And so when I tip very, very generously because I want people to, it means more to them than it does to me in that moment. And, in terms of when I tip, we do tend to tip for really exceptional service. And so we have frequently tipped beyond what's required or suggested for our dining team, especially if they've really gotten to know us and really leaned in and really made the experience special. We will tip extra. I have tipped the head server in the dining room one time when he went really above and beyond for us to get us at a table that we really wanted to be at. He really just went above and beyond to put us in a section with a particular server we liked, so I tipped him. And we have tipped our stateroom attendant over the time. I would say most sailings we tip our stateroom attendant more than what's required. The amount varies. I will say on an 11-night sailing, we have tipped our dining staff up to like $100 each beyond what is required, just because of the amount of time we spend with them. Similar for a stateroom attendant. I'd say for the main dining server, not as much and not as often. But those tend to be folks that we tip more. And then if we have dinner in Palo or Remy, the service is typically quite exceptional in those locations. And so we would tip on par with what we would do on land for the kind of experience that we get. So that's our philosophy on tipping. I don't know, Adrienne, if you have a different philosophy or a particular philosophy that you
No,
follow
I have
around
exactly
tipping.
your philosophy. And I also feel that when I am on that ship, there is not one moment that they have not made me feel that I am almost the only person that they are there for and doing for. And I am very, very generous with that constantly on the ship. And specifically Palo, I mean, I can't even begin to discuss the service. And even the stateroom attendant, when I would be walking by and on my way to the gym, and he's like, "You're up so early." And I'm like, "Hey, I'm going to try and get a workout." And just the greetings in the mornings and the "how are you? Can I do anything?" There isn't anything that they don't do. They put 110% in, and they get you want to do, because they become like family, and you want to do it for them too.
Yeah. What's funny is the comment about you're up so early in the morning. You're like up already in the hallway with your cart, dressed, showered, ready to go. So like you're up way earlier than I am. So
The other thing that I like to remind ourselves is that most of the folks who work on these ships, the folks who are going to be your stateroom attendants, who are you're going to be your main dining folks, these are people not from countries like the United States. These are people who are typically sending the money home to their families, to their children, back in their home countries of Indonesia or India, or just all over the world. And so
from Jamaica.
Yeah, Jamaica. Yeah. So these are folks who that money can go a long way to them in their home country. So, giving them an extra $40 tip at the end of a, 4-night cruise, on top of what the recommended amount is that you may have prepaid, that is going to mean something to them. And that $40 you might spend, very quickly for a family of 4 at Starbucks. So think about it that way.
I will be tipping generously on our first cruise back, because I really, those folks have not sailed in a long time. I think they are doing, I applaud them for coming back, and I hope that Disney is treating them well as they do come back. So yeah. All right, just a couple more questions here. We're going to rapid fire this one. I'm going to start with you, Sam, because you have a whole podcast dedicated to this. What is your favorite Disney Plus show?
Oh my goodness. Favorite Disney Plus show. Okay, well, it already finished. And I'm going to say it was Falcon and Winter Soldier. I've loved all 3 of the Disney Plus Marvel Cinematic Universe shows, WandaVision, Falcon and Winter Soldier, and then recently Loki. But I just loved the social themes and the characters. And I loved Falcon becoming Captain America. Sorry, spoiler. So I love those. But a recent favorite, which is a book series.
You can't give a favorite.
I know, I can't even give one favorite. But a recent, no, but I actually am really enjoying right now the Mysterious Benedict Society series. I've read all of the books.
See,
I love
you do that and you steal mine. See, that's
sorry. Okay, well, I'm going to throw it to Brian now.
Oh,
no.
I know.
The hot potato's going to Adrienne, so I can figure out. So, Adrienne, your favorite Disney Plus series
was WandaVision.
Oh, nice.
I loved it. I loved everything about it. And I cried into a ball when it ended. I was like,
it was wonderiful.
And I knew how it was going to end. I knew it was not going to end the way I wanted it to be, with the happily ever after moment, but it left me wanting more. Loved it.
So good.
Yeah, I'm just going to stick with what I was originally going to say, the Mysterious Benedict Society. I think it's a lot of fun. I love the main character in there. The kid actors are really fun. And I love, what's Constance? Is it Constance? Yes. Is that her name? I actually am a big fan of Constance. Other people hate her. I love Constance. So I'm going to stick with Mysterious Benedict Society.
The other one that Brian loves. Brian, you forgot to say this. You should have said this. Cruella. Brian,
that's obsessed. A movie. That's a movie, not a series.
I know, but it's a movie, and
I love Cruella.
Brian, I love it too, but Brian is like obsessed, you guys.
Well, yeah, I love that movie. All right. Last question coming from Jessica from our Facebook page. And she is asking for top 5 tips for first-time cruisers. So I am going to not do top 5. We're each going to give a deep cut tip, because I did point Jessica in the direction of a blog post we have over at Touring Plans around some top 5 tips for new cruisers.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go beyond the obvious here. A deep cut tip for a first time cruiser. My tip, I'll start off to give you guys some time to think. My tip is, once things are much more normal, back to normal, one of my favorite things to do, we always fly in the night before the cruise. That is there's a freebie tip. Always fly in the night before, never fly in the day of. That is just asking for something to go wrong and for you to miss the ship.
Yes.
We love to stay at the Hyatt MCO for one reason, if you're sailing out of Port Canaveral, and that is because of the Disney Cruise Line transportation that leaves from MCO in the morning. It's like the Magic Express for Disney Cruise Line, except you have to pay for it. And the tip buried in here is that if you can get on that first or second Disney Cruise Line bus, and assuming things, kind of revert back to what they were pre-COVID and the port arrival times are a little bit more of a suggestion and not a hard and fast requirement of when you can show up, those first 2 buses get into the terminal before everyone else. And so you can get through check-in with minimum hassle and be ready to get on the ship very, very quickly if you're on one of those first 2 buses. And if you're like us and you had a friend who was in boarding group 1 and you've saved your boarding group 1 card, you can just sail right onto the ship, because they have not changed those boarding group cards in I don't know how long. So we have a boarding group 1 card lurking around and we use it all the time. So that's my tip for first time cruiser. Use those early buses from MCO to get into the port, checked in and ready to get on board to maximize your time on the ship.
That is Adrian. A very good one.
Yeah, Adrian, your tip?
My tip is, always make sure you have a carry-on bag with your bathing suit, sunscreen, and anything you want, because your luggage and your stateroom will not be ready. And most people go on and they think, oh, I'll go to my room and I'll change and I'll do whatever. And it doesn't work that way. And sunscreen, you cannot buy anything in the stores. They do not open until they start sailing. So make sure you bring sunscreen on the cruise with you. I love getting the drink of the day glass when you first get on, because then it's only like a $5 drink every time you go to the bar. Mm-hmm. And those are my little tidbits. Oh, and get your reservations to the spa early. When you get on that boat, if you want to go to the spa, or do it from home. You can even do it from home prior to going on the cruise.
Yeah, unless you want to take advantage of specials. If you're really cost conscious,
right,
then wait till you're on board. But you might not get what you.
But then you might not get the day or the time. If you are very specific and you want it a certain time, certain day. In other words, make that one of your first stops, and you'll be able to get what you want and how you want it.
Yeah. Okay, my tip is going to be around dining, rotational dining specifically, because I'm going to tell you for your first cruise to skip the Remy and Paulo and stick with main dining so that you can experience all 3 dining rooms, even multiple times.
If you're on a 3-night, if you're on a longer cruise, I wouldn't say shy away from Remy and Paulo.
I'm just saying, I think that there's a lot to experience in the main dining room. If you haven't been on a cruise before, if you haven't been on a Disney cruise before, there's a lot to experience. But the tip I'm going to give you is to tell you that in non-COVID times, you are going to be seated with another family unless your party is, maybe 6 or bigger. So know that ahead of time, or you request. Right. That's what I was going to say. So if you are a party of 2, 3, 4, even 5, occasionally, you may get seated with another party or 2 or 3. If you're a couple, you're likely to get seated with several other couples. So if you don't want to socialize with strangers, make a request to be seated alone. Or just be prepared to be friendly and put on your extroverted, outgoing pants and try and make new friends. So some people don't like it. I think it's a kind of a fun thing to do, but I think there's a big division. But if you don't know what's going to happen, from what I've understood from folks who've sailed and didn't know that was going to happen, they actually didn't like it more because they weren't prepared for it than anything. So that's my tip to a first-time cruiser.
Well, there you go. Three tips, 3 deep cut tips there for first time cruisers. So With that, thanks for all the questions out there. Keep them coming. And if you watch live, you're always free to submit a question into the YouTube chat or the Facebook chat, and we will try to answer it live for you. But with that, I want to thank Adrian for joining us as always. Adrian, do you want to let folks know where they can find you? Because you are also a fabulous Disney travel specialist.
Thank you. Let It Go Journeys, and it's 516-728-6565. And anytime you need anything, let me know.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for watching this evening, and we will see you next time.
Bye.